to our agriculture lesson today, and we are going to look at factors that influence agriculture in general. So, we'll talk about factors that influence agriculture. These are just factors which influence the efficiency of agricultural production. The efficiency of agricultural production. There are those things which may either influence it positively or negatively on the production of those produce. For instance, we can have factors like we have pests. Pests can be a factor. In that it affects the production negatively. But we have some like insects which influence the production of crops positively by transferring what you call pollen to grains, and it becomes positive in influencing the production of those crops. Now let's look at those factors, and they include we have biotic factors, we have climatic factors, we have edaphic factors, that is the soil factors, and we have human factors. So we have 4 factors that influence the efficiency of the production, and I'll say they are classified into 4 forms, which is we have biotic, that is the living organism, we have biotic factors, we have climatic factors, we have human factors, and we have edaphic factors, or we'll talk about soil factors. Those are the edaphic factors. Now let's look at the first one, being biotic factors. Biotic factors. Now, when we talk about biotic, from the term biotic, so climatic, human, and edaphic becomes a biotic factor, but we have now the biotic factor. So these are just living organisms that affect agricultural production. So biotic, these are just living organisms that affect agricultural production, and they include, we have the pests, we have the parasites, we have the decomposers, we have pollinators, we have nitrogen fixing bacteria, and we have we have pests, we have parasites, we have decomposers, we have pathogens, we have predators, we have pollinators, we have nitrogen fixing bacteria. So these are the biotic factors that influence the efficiency of agricultural production. So let's look at the first one, being the pest, and we've said that a pest is a biotic factor. A pest is a living organism that affects or destroys the crop either directly or indirectly. If I say directly, I mean it feeds. A pest can feed on a whole plant or parts of the plant. So that is directly. A pest affects. A pest is a living organism that destroys the crops either directly by feeding on the whole plant or parts of the plant, and also they can affect the plants indirectly by introducing pathogens to the crops, which introduces what you call diseases to the plant. So a pest is a living organism that destroys crops either directly or by causing physical damage to the plant, or by introducing disease-causing microorganisms. That is, we talk about the pathogens. They introduce pathogens to the crops. That is indirectly. And then now we have examples of those pests, and we have the nematodes as a pest, we have insects as a pest, we have mites as a pest, we also have the rodents as a pest, we have large animals. Large animal can be one, we have the elephants, and then we also have domestic, also we have domestic Domestic animals also can be a pest if they will attack they will destroy the crops. So domestic, for example, the poultry or the cattle or the sheep or the goats. So those are examples or a few examples of the pests. And now let's look at the effects of pests on crops. What do pests do to our crops? The first one we said they feed on the whole plant or parts of the plant. So if we say, assuming you've planted kales, you've planted kales on your piece of land. You have the kales here. You have your kales, and we have a domestic animal. Let's use example. Let's use a sheep. A sheep. Now a sheep is that pest which, if it enters into your land or the farm, it will feed on all these vegetables. So you can see it will feed on the whole plant. Or we say parts of the plant is, we have the leaves, we have the stems, we have the roots. So those are parts of the plant. So the sheep or that pest, they can feed on the whole plant or parts of the plant. Even have the rodents. Rodents, they can feed on the whole grain, which is the whole plant or parts of the plant, being the stem, the roots or the leaves. So if they are going to feed on these parts of the plant, of course, they will lower the quality and the quantity of the produce. For instance, if they feed on the leaves, we say they will reduce the photosynthetic service, and by doing so, they will lower the production or the quality and the quantity, the amount of what is being produced. Then also we have the second point being the pests act as they transmit diseases. That is, they transfer pathogens to the crops. That is, we have pests which have what you call a sucking mouth parts. So those ones, when they suck the sap from the plant, they transmit back the pathogens to the crops, and by doing so, they will transmit what you call diseases. And also we have those ones which they have. So we have insects which have different types of mouth parts. We have the one which we say they are biting and chewing mouth parts, and we have the one for sucking mouth parts. These ones are the ones which transmit the pathogens, but these ones, they destroy the all crops or parts of the plant. Then we say that the other point is that the pests, they will increase the cost of producing. That is, so when a farmer wants to control it increases the costs of producing by, for example, want to buy chemicals to control the pests. This one, you need money to buy those chemicals, so it becomes expensive when buying these when buying these chemicals to control the pests. For example, the locust. Controlling locust is very expensive. And then we have the lower the marketability of the crop being produced. For example, if you have you've planted your maize, you harvested them, then you stored them in a store. Then by bad luck, it is attacked by the weevils. The weevils are going to destroy those maize in the store by making holes on the grains, and by doing so, you'll see that those maize, they will have they will lower the value or the quality of that maize, hence they lower the marketability of our crops. That is all for today.